G'day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan Metal video. In this video we are going to discuss whether you should skip, save or summon, well I guess skip and save are the same thing, but whether you should summon on the Super Dragon Ball Heroes banner. So obviously the main featured unit is the Super Saiyan God Trunks. He is the premier unit, he is the new Dragon Ball Heroes lead for the Dragon Ball Heroes category, and yeah, he's pretty good. He's got 170% across the board, Dragon Ball Heroes lead, which is obviously quite useful, and then of course he is pretty damn rad otherwise. He raises his attack and defense for one turn, causes immense damage to the enemy and seals their super attack. So he has a sufficient amount of utility that he has built within. And then he has attack and defense of 30% per Dragon Ball Heroes category ally on the team, plus an additional attack and defense of 100% and a high chance of performing a crit when performing a super attack. He will also randomly change key spheres of a certain type to rainbow, so essentially he's got a very nice kit. Although some of it is dependent on Dragon Ball Heroes category units, that high chance to crit and that sealing ability on his super attack will still make him pretty powerful and pretty good as a utility based hero for certain stages. Because he has the high chance to crit, you also go full additional on his build, which helps him out quite a bit because obviously he raises that attack and defense when he fires off a super attack, so you want to go full additionals on him. Obviously, just in terms of the unit himself, he's definitely designed to exist on a Dragon Ball Heroes team, which is, pretty self-explanatory from the unit. And honestly, in terms of categories, he has quite a few. He's got Vegeta's Family, Battle of Wits, Time Travelers, he's got Realm of the Gods. In terms of attack animations, pretty interesting. I'm not going to say they're top quality attack animations, but they are pretty good attack animations. So they're nice and solid, much like the SS4 Vegito. We'll move on to Pan next, and Pan is a crossover category lead. She also has the ability to raise her attack for one turn, causes supreme damage to the enemy, and of course has a chance to stun the enemy as well. We then have attack and defense of 140%. She gives Dragon Ball Heroes category allies attack and defense of 40% and 3 key, a high chance of performing a critical hit, a high chance of evading enemy super attack, defense plus 50% per super attack that is evaded, and then of course she gets an additional attack and defense of 50% for each Dragon Ball Heroes category ally that is included in the same turn as her. Because of her high chance to crit, she is one you're going to want to build entirely into additionals as well, which again will help her out quite a bit with that chance to stun. Her link set is probably the weakest of all of the units, as Pan doesn't really have a place to fit, barring maybe on the Goku's Family alongside B-Pan. But overall she does somewhat struggle for a place in teams. The next we have is Dbz, a crossover category unit, crossover lead of 130%, again with a very interesting link set. So before we touch on anything else, Dbz is a very interesting unit. He raises his attack permanently and lowers the enemy's attack and defense with his super attack. He also has a pretty good passive. I've seen this guy hit for some pretty scary numbers. He has attack and defense of 150%, plus an additional attack and defense of 80% when performing a super attack, plus an additional attack and defense of 20% per key sphere obtained, plus an additional attack and defense of 80% with 2 or more AGL key spheres obtained, plus an additional attack of 80% with 2 or more strength or physical spheres, or an additional defense of 80% if he does int or tech spheres. So pretty interesting passive there. Obviously a lot of variability with his passive, a lot of ways to buff him and control him. Obviously your aim is to get AGL orbs, but you can kind of select the buff depending on the situation. His link set is pretty good, and he has the fabled Big Bad Bosses link, which obviously is quite a big link to have. A very powerful link. In terms of categories, he's on Resurrected Warriors, Terrifying Conquerors, Realm of the Gods, and so he has a pretty good level of categories to be on, and his passive, probably more than anyone else's, is like almost completely non-reliant on essentially having you know, Dragon Ball Heroes or crossover units or anything like that. So he has a pretty good passive. Next we have Rubaloo. Her attack and defense of 80% plus attack and defense of 80% when attacking, plus an additional attack of 180% when the target super attack is sealed. Yeah, randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow key spheres. High chance of evading the enemy's super attack. High chance of forcing the enemy's super attack if there is another Dragon Ball Heroes category unit. So Rubaloo, also very, very, very utility based. Pretty interesting unit, can get a really high attack stat actually. And also that passive again, not really entirely dependent on being on a Dragon Ball Heroes team. So again, a pretty solid passive to have. Something that's quite reliable, something that's pretty good, something that, you know, can just basically get the job done, which I think is really, really, really quality. In terms of categories, you know, good for Pepe girls, very, very good for Pepe girls, and of course, you know, pretty good when you look at her other options, but very limited, probably one of the more limited units alongside the Supreme Kai of Time. So Supreme Kai of Time, her passive is pretty crazy. She has a rare chance of stunning all enemies similar to the Strength Jiren. She has attack and defense of 90% plus an additional attack and defense of 90% when performing a super attack. She also gains plus an additional attack of 90% when the target is in the attack down phase, an additional 90% when the target enemy is in defense down phase, plus an additional attack of 90% when the target is sealed, plus an additional when the target is stunned. So basically, the more debuffs you place on the unit, the more crazy her attack damage will be. She has also a very interesting link set, Masters of Magic being one of those more ARB links on her. She's on Realm of the Gods and Potara, which makes her a potentially interesting option for those teams. And yeah, she probably out of, and Corroded Body and Mind, probably out of all the units is the one I'm most interested in seeing. In a stage where you can get debuffs, you could potentially see something pretty crazy out of her, which I think is pretty awesome. Next we have Goku. So Goku and Vegeta are basically the same thing. They greatly raise their attack and defense on their super, which is awesome for long form events, stacking events and things like that. In terms of passive, they are identical, just replace Goku's family with Vegeta's family, and they have attack and defense of 120% plus an additional attack of 120% when there is a Goku's family ally on the team. They also give Ki +3 and attack and defense of 40% to Goku's family allies or Vegeta's family allies respectfully. So yeah, pretty interesting little kind of duo there. Obviously very, very, very rock solid supports on those teams, which is, you know, very good. I think Goku's family and Vegeta's family, yeah, not that they need the support so much, but there are interesting options, especially Vegeta, since, you know, that's another crossover / DB Heroes Vegeta's family unit to kind of pair up with the main lead Trunks. So it's a pretty interesting unit overall. Then of course we have the last couple units. So the last unit we have is obviously the Vegeta, who has attack and defense of 120% plus an additional attack and defense of 100% when performing a super attack. Chance of performing a crit plus 10% with each super attack performed. Launches an additional super attack when the target enemy is in attack down or defense down status. Again, nice thing is the Vegeta, the Goku, the Vegeta are all not really dependent at all on having Dragon Ball Heroes or crossover units in their teams. They're all pretty like non-dependent on that. They're all just designed to kind of be on teams. And they can really fill out categories for all of the other units, Vegeta being a great addition to the Potara team. And then of course here with the Gohanks, we have an addition to the Fusion team, essentially the same as Vegeta, except obviously a little bit different. Just launches an additional super attack when there is a Dragon Ball Heroes category ally attacking in the same turn, or when the enemy is in defense down or attack down status. So obviously if you want this guy to do some really good work, you essentially can just take him into a long form event alongside another heroes unit, and you'll see him still perform his full passive. And then we have the Gotenks, essentially the exact same thing as the Gohanks, so nothing too crazy there. So there we've gone through all of the units. Now the main thing you'll notice is that a lot of them have passives that slightly, to varying degrees, depend on having other Dragon Ball heroes or other crossover units in the team. Now I would say Trunks, out of all of them, is probably the worst, in that his power can really spike depending on how many Dragon Ball heroes units you have, whereas you probably look at units like Mecha Dabura, or you look at units like Gohanks or Vejanks or Goku and Vegeta, where they almost need absolutely none of them to realistically hit their power spike. So yeah, it's pretty interesting from that perspective. Overall, 2 of them do not have awakenings yet, which means they're units that will get progressively more powerful the next time we have the Heroes banner. That's generally the trend. They later on will get their awakenings. And then of course, I just think overall there's 10 units on the banner, which is obviously something to also factor in. 10 featured units is quite an extensive amount. Nothing too crazy, but it is definitely something to be aware of. Obviously, the banner itself drops blue coins. Now blue coins are not necessarily the most useful. You can't use them for anything but 50% supports, which are on very rare banners. And of course, you can use them for Kais, which I guess in this situation is probably very helpful, because you can actually use the Kais for the Xeno units, because yeah, they do not have farmable Kais. Overall, I think you should save, and that's it from me. Cheers and bye.